Once upon a time, in a cozy little house with a big sunny garden, lived a tiny kitten named Oliver. Oliver was no ordinary kitten. He had fur as orange as a ripe pumpkin, eyes as green as new spring leaves, and a heart full of curiosity. Every single day was a brand new adventure for him. One bright morning, Oliver woke up, stretched his little paws, and decided it was the perfect day to explore beyond the garden fence. He'd always wondered what lay on the other side. So, with a brave little meow, he squeezed through a tiny gap and found himself in a world that was bigger and more exciting than he had ever imagined. The first friend he made was a wise old owl named Professor Hoot. Professor Hoot wore tiny spectacles on his beak and was perched on a branch reading a book made of leaves. "Well, hello there, young fellow," he hooted softly. "What brings a little cat like you to this part of the woods?" Oliver, a bit shy but very excited, puffed out his chest and said, "I'm on an adventure." Professor Hoot chuckled. "An adventure, you say? Splendid. The world is a grand book, and those who do not travel read only a page. But remember, the greatest adventures often teach us the most important lessons. Be kind, be brave, and always be curious." Oliver thanked the wise owl and continued on his way, his tail swishing with excitement. Soon he heard a rustling in the bushes. Out popped a bouncy, flop-eared rabbit named Rosie. Rosie was in a bit of a pickle. She had been collecting berries for her family, but her basket had a hole and all the berries were tumbling out. "Dear, dear," she cried, hopping in circles. Oliver, remembering Professor Hoot's words about kindness, immediately scampered over. "Don't worry," he meowed. "I can help." Using his clever little paws, he found a large, sturdy leaf and helped Rosie line her basket with it, stopping the berries from falling out. Together, they gathered all the spilled berries. Rosie was so grateful. "Thank you, Oliver. You saved our berry pie. You're a true friend." They giggled and shared a juicy red berry. Oliver learned that helping others felt just as good as having his own fun. As the sun began to climb higher in the sky, Oliver's tummy started to rumble. He followed a delicious smell that led him to a bustling meadow where a family of squirrels was having a picnic. They were the Squeakertons, known for the best acorn cookies in the entire forest. The youngest squirrel, a tiny fellow named Squeaky, was trying to roll a giant nut up a hill, but it was too heavy. He huffed and puffed, but the nut wouldn't budge. Oliver, seeing Squeaky struggle, remembered how Rosie had called him a true friend. He trotted over and said, "Do you need a paw? I mean, a hand?" Squeaky's eyes lit up. "Would you? That would be amazing." So Oliver got behind the nut and pushed with all his might while Squeaky pulled from the front. With a 1, 2, 3 push, they rolled the giant nut all the way to the top of the hill. Mrs. Squeakerton was so pleased that she invited Oliver to join their picnic. He tasted his first ever acorn cookie and decided it was the most delicious thing he had ever eaten. He learned that teamwork makes even the biggest jobs feel small and fun. After the picnic, feeling full and happy, Oliver waved goodbye to his new squirrel friends. He wandered down a path lined with colorful flowers and soon heard a faint, sad chirping sound. He followed the sound to a small stream and found a little blue bird hopping anxiously on the bank. "What's wrong?" Oliver asked gently. The little bird, whose name was Pip, pointed a tiny wing towards a lily pad in the middle of the stream. On it sat a beautiful, shimmering dragonfly, but one of its wings was stuck under a dewdrop. "He can't fly," chirped Pip. "The stream is too wide for me to hop across." Oliver looked at the stream. It wasn't very deep, but he wasn't a big fan of getting his paws wet. He remembered Professor Hoot's words again, "Be brave." Taking a deep breath, he waded carefully into the cool water. Step by step, he made his way to the lily pad. With a gentle nudge of his nose, he freed the dragonfly's wing. The dragonfly buzzed its wings, circled Oliver's head in a little dance of thanks, and flew off into the air. Pip sang a joyful song. "You were so brave, Oliver. You faced your fear to help someone else." Oliver waded back to the bank, shaking the water from his fur. He felt a little cold, but his heart was warm. He had discovered that being brave didn't mean you weren't scared. It meant you did the right thing even when you were. As the afternoon sun began to dip towards the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Oliver knew it was time to head home. He said his goodbyes to Pip and started his journey back. On his way, he passed the meadow, the berry patch, and the wise old owl's tree. "How was your adventure?" Professor Hoot called down. "It was wonderful," Oliver meowed back, his voice full of cheer. "I made new friends, I helped people, and I even tried an acorn cookie." Professor Hoot smiled. "Excellent. You see, the world outside your garden is not so scary after all, is it? It's full of friends waiting to be met and lessons waiting to be learned." Oliver trotted on, his heart full of the day's memories. He thought about Rosie the rabbit and learned about kindness. He thought about the Squeakertons and learned about teamwork. He thought about Pip and the dragonfly and learned about being brave. He finally squeezed back through the gap in the fence, just as the first stars began to twinkle in the night sky. He was back in his own cozy garden. He trotted inside, curled up in his favorite soft bed, and purred the loudest purr he had ever purred. He was no longer just Oliver, the little cat from the house. He was Oliver, the adventurer, the kind friend, the helpful teammate, and the brave hero. And as he drifted off to sleep, he dreamed of all the new adventures that tomorrow would bring. Because he knew, with a heart full of curiosity and friendship, every day could be the best day ever. Thank you so much for joining Oliver on his big adventure. I hope you had as much fun as he did. If you enjoyed our story, don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next tale. We can't wait to see you again soon. Bye for now.